Our next speaker is well known to me and from former life, and wonderful PhD student, did a fabulous PhD looking at online support, and it couldn't be more important at this moment in time when we're facing COVID, and we really do need to be working with each other, supporting each other online, and particularly helping women who are breastfeeding. Now, Dr. Maria Herron is the founder of I Breastfeed. She's a co-founder of Infant Feeding Ireland and administrator of Code Monitoring Northern Ireland. Maria, again, has an extensive portfolio of working with the public. She's been working with Mothers' Voices. She really has been engaged in listening to women and working very much with women, and also working with the NMC and working with the PHA. So Maria, over to you.
Thank you very much, Marlene. Can everybody hear me all right? I'll just bring this up onto the screen and hopefully click the right buttons. Okay, here we go. Fabulous. Okay, just change that around. Okay, well, thank you very much, first of all, Marlene, for inviting me to talk about online breastfeeding support today. Who knew, as you say, that a phenomenon that just seemed to be taken off about 10 years ago would become such an important tool, and particularly now during this time of COVID-19. When I first searched the literature for online breastfeeding support back about 10 years ago now, there were about 18 articles in total. Today, if you run a search for online breastfeeding support on Google Scholar, you'll find at least 220,000 references to online breastfeeding support. Recently, a systematic review by Al Mohana and his colleagues published this year found that the two most successful online breastfeeding support interventions were the use of credible online discussion forums and personalization, two really important issues that we'll be covering today. So when I initially looked at those 18 papers, they were quite an eclectic collection of studies exploring the use of technology to support breastfeeding in any way. So it included studies such as the readability of websites, the quality of websites. There was a study of women supporting each other through an email thread. And there was also the beginnings of some work on telehealth. And that was the study that you carried out, Marlene, over 20 years ago. However, I couldn't find anything in the literature about mother-to-mother online discussion forums, even though I was seeing them happening on the internet. And in order to understand really the self-directed behaviours of women in the online environment, I undertook, with permission from NetMums, an unobtrusive observational study of what was happening in their breastfeeding forums. And really this, what you see in front of you, this quite complicated looking slide, I suppose I'm just inviting you to have a look down the microscope of the components here of what I found to be involved in online breastfeeding support. And these were identified, tested and validated as part of my PhD. And rather than going into these in detail, because I'm very conscious that we are tight for time, I'm just going to give you a couple of insights into what online breastfeeding support actually means. First of all, who is likely to use online breastfeeding support? Well, basically, it's mums who can't find adequate face-to-face support, or indeed those who are seeking additional or alternative support, which is very relevant at the moment. What actually happens in an online forum? Well, there's some amazing work that is going on here. Mums can search and read other threads for information. They can post a query and obtain personalised menu of support from more experienced other mums, and in fact, others in terms of, there's quite a lot of practitioners now involved in these online support boards. And this can happen at any time of the day and night. Some of the consequences of using online breastfeeding support that I identified was the impact on breastfeeding experience, the impact on breastfeeding outcomes, and actually impact on general breastfeeding, general parenting practices such as co-sleeping and baby-led weaning. There was also, over time, an increase in knowledge and confidence that could indeed lead to supporting others. And this is one of the key findings of my PhD, was this concept of generalized reciprocity, where women who came on looking for support within a couple of months were indeed offering support to other mums. And it was because of this finding that I went back to Net Mums and got permission to continue the research for a further 9 months, and was able to track a lot of those original posters and find out more about their breastfeeding outcomes and experiences over the course of a year. So really interesting insights. This led to a working definition of online breastfeeding support, which I published along with my supervisors, Marlene, George, and Janine, in 2015. And this is really that online breastfeeding support is a sustainable mother-generated system based on indirect reciprocity, which offers easily accessible, highly responsive, tailored support from more experienced others in a discreet online environment. And as I said earlier, it's not just mothers that are on these online forums. There's also a lot of health professionals and practitioners that have joined these groups. And that is creating quite an interesting dynamic as well. One of the key recommendations from my concept analysis of online breastfeeding support was that the intelligence obtained in cooperation with mother-initiated forums could contribute to more effective statutory breastfeeding support. And just to give you an example of this, and really in terms of making this current, I carried out a little snapshot survey recently where I asked for feedback from 3 sources. Main breastfeeding support group in Northern Ireland, which is called Breastfeeding Northern Ireland, which has over 11,000 members. I also asked for some information from Extended Breastfeeding Ireland, which has over 21,000 members, and also a smaller group, a WhatsApp group that consists of mothers and practitioners, and asked for a wee bit of feedback a couple of days in October there about what mums were feeling in terms of the breastfeeding support they're receiving during COVID-19. And I got over 100, what I was really looking for was some quotes, and I got over 100 messages from mums with their stories of their experiences of breastfeeding support during this time. And in terms of an overview, many mothers, of course, were acknowledging that this has been a tough time for everybody in the healthcare environment. And generally, while some communities and hospitals are providing outstanding breastfeeding support given the circumstances, the quality of support can vary even within the same hospital, which was quite interesting in terms of the culture of the hospitals. Mothers generally commented on the availability, knowledge, and commitment of the healthcare practitioners and others to their own breastfeeding journey. And I'll just give you some snippets of some of the feedback that I received. First of all, a sample of some of the positive experiences. As Janet was saying, in relation to breastfeeding rates, we might actually find that some of the rates have gone up, because in terms of the quiet wards and where there's opportunity for nurses and midwives to give extra support, some women are definitely reporting back on that as being their experience. There's also a lot of acknowledgement for lactation consultants, particularly when they're on the wards in those early hours and early days. And there was also, and this is a really interesting one because this wasn't so much the experience 10 years ago when I was looking at this topic, but now there's a lot of comments about having supportive mothers, supportive partners, supportive sisters, supportive in-laws and friends who'd previously breastfed. When I had done the research initially, there was very little in terms of family support or community support. So that has been a big difference in the last 10 years. As Janet was saying as well, in terms of what is on offer at the moment to women, either through Zoom or telephone rather than face-to-face, There was a lot of comments about health visitors being able to help over the phone, sessions with lactation consultants over the phone or through videos, which again refers back to that early work that Marlene had done on telehealth. And some people are finding this is working really well for them. There's also comments about individual GPs who've been fantastic help in the weeks and months since giving birth. A lot of people are really enjoying the Zoom meetups, and these seem to be happening right across the country. And in general, feedback is that online is one brilliant new mama resource, which is just fantastic that we have this during this period. However, unfortunately, there was also a lot of negative experiences. Some mums felt that the antenatal visits and appointments were just quite rushed. And this is interesting feedback from somebody who actually used to work on a maternity ward, who was very surprised at the lack of breastfeeding support. And remember, this is feedback from women from the Republic of Ireland and from Northern Ireland. But it's also some of the common themes that we're getting from both areas is that as soon as the baby arrives, there is no support. Some of this you might find a little bit shocking, but I have to say that it was coming through in the feedback on a number of occasions. And one quote, direct quote from a mum, was that she felt very embarrassed to be scolded on 2 occasions by midwives for doing skin to skin. And you have to ask, what's that about? In one case, a mum asked on the ward for the breastfeeding coordinator, but the staff didn't seem to know that there was one or who she was. She did eventually get hold of her, and she said she was kind of helpful, but this was all happening on the phone and not what that particular mum needed at that time. In another case, mum was reflecting on the fact that because of COVID, she had no visitors, her partner was not allowed to be there, so it wasn't a great experience. And although the midwives were lovely, unfortunately, they were not able to offer her any breastfeeding support. Some mums delved into this a bit deeper and talked to me about the fact that there didn't seem to be any strategies for how to breastfeed babies being given, and yet the lady delivering the formula was there every morning. Tongue tie was mentioned quite a lot. In this particular example here, where the mother had actually diagnosed that the baby had tongue tie, she diagnosed that herself, but it still took 4 days to sort it out. There was also quite a lot of very positive feedback about tongue tie, and particularly in different trusts in Northern Ireland, and where people named the trust, it was quite outstanding that there was that translation that women knew that there was help available in those particular trusts. So there seems to be some success in what's been rolled out there. Unfortunately, and this seems to be happening more in the south, there seemed to be a lot of pressure to formula feed. And in fact, one mother was told by her midwife that if you give your baby formula, you will actually get home earlier, which, given this pandemic, of course, that's going to be a very tempting offer. And again, in the south, because staff are being redeployed because of COVID, there was no particular follow-up, and this mum hasn't seen any healthcare practitioners since she had her baby a couple of months ago. A lot of women as well talked about missing the breastfeeding meetup groups, the face-to-face groups, but they are very grateful about everything that is going on online. I also asked, when I was asking for simple feedback, asked for suggestions about how we could continue to improve breastfeeding support during this time. In terms of the antenatal time, there was feedback that really there doesn't seem to be enough support or information given. And breastfeeding can be a bit of a shock for first-time mums, and particularly if they haven't been around anybody who has fed before. It was heartbreaking to read some of the comments about partners not being available to help, particularly where women may have had cesarean sections and were finding it difficult even to deal with being in the hospital. And women who felt that if their partners had been there, it may have helped them in their breastfeeding journeys. There was very positive comments about individual midwives, including in this case here, where one mum just felt that the competency of the midwife really helped her in getting her journey started. And she made this particular suggestion that if midwives are too busy to help or not able to help for whatever reason, that maybe the health services could, put up videos or recommend videos that they could access while they're actually in hospital. Lactation consultants were found to be invaluable both in hospital and the community. And women wondered if this service could be extended. And indeed, another case where there was a suggestion for clearer referral pathways to the lactation consultants. Many women commented on GPs. Some of this was very positive, but in a lot of cases, there was a feeling that GPs need further training in the whole area of breastfeeding, particularly in terms of natural term weaning, because there was a lot of GPs that were encouraging women to stop breastfeeding after a certain amount of time. And also, a lot of women are still being recommended to stop breastfeeding when they're being given certain medications. So I think there is a body of work, and I know there's quite a lot actually going on in that area. So in times of bother as well, this is a lovely quote. I've always found wonderful advice from this forum, and that tended to be a lot of the feedback that I was getting was about the fantastic advice and support that women have been getting online through what's been offered through the health services, but very much through the discussion forums and boards. Okay, I'm coming towards the end here, and I want to leave you with 3 questions. And this is really taking the feedback from women recently and also bringing into account my own knowledge of online breastfeeding support and observations of what has been happening on these forums over the years. My question to you is, given that online breastfeeding support forums are really becoming powerhouses of breastfeeding knowledge, resources, and insights about gaps in support, how do we, as healthcare practitioners, co-design solutions for a more comprehensive breastfeeding support in conjunction with online breastfeeding support groups? We've been asking women for years, where are the gaps in breastfeeding support? They have been telling us where the gaps are. I think we need to turn this around and actually work very directly with these groups who are fonts of knowledge in order to ensure that we have this more comprehensive breastfeeding support without all the gap that we currently have. How do we secure investment to properly support women who want to breastfeed? This is something that, in terms of the Lancet series on breastfeeding 4 years ago, really highlighted that one of the best investments that a country can make is to invest in breastfeeding. So how do we do that? My 3rd question to you is, how do we make better use of technology to help to meet the needs of those who want to breastfeed just now, but also in the future? And there is some fantastic things going on in other aspects of online, through Instagram, through Twitter, as well as on Facebook, and other things that we can only imagine in the future. And how do we help to develop that with what we know? I'd like to thank everybody that was involved in this recent snapshot collection, particularly the administrators and members of Breastfeeding in Northern Ireland, the administrators and members of the largest online breastfeeding group in the Republic of Ireland, and to the WhatsApp group Mother's Village. Thank you also to all the mums who took time to share the breastfeeding support experiences with me recently, and to the mums whose babies, although now older, shared your beautiful photographs of the early days. And thank you as well to the very, very many passionate supporters of breastfeeding who strive to help women and babies to achieve this most wonderful of endeavours. Let's hope we can all work together to have better breastfeeding support in the future. Thank you.
Maria, absolutely amazing. I am so sorry that you're not working with us in the university. I miss you, and I am so glad that this is your forte. This is what you were born for. You're in your element. Your research was so powerful when it was done. You know, I kept on at you about the publications because it was way ahead of its time. And I'm so delighted to see your work and to see how you've continued and grown. It is a gift. You are a gift to us, and I am thankful for the work that you have shared with us today, and for those insights, because they're so real. Your finger on the pulse and challenging us, and thank you very much. Now, Maria, we're a wee bit out of time, but you have had a lot of positive comments, people agreeing with you, people very excited, saying everything you're saying is just 100% correct. And we have time for one question from Charlotte Sin. We have a helpline for people to contact. We're seeing so much of the same as mentioned by Maria. It's a sad time. How can we make sure their message is the same? How can we, and another one was about having a support line or a helpline. I'm asking you that, Maria, but I'm sure if we had more time, I'm sure Janet would have a lot to say about this, because, or even Mary Jo, who's been working in this area, one of our pre-docs who'll be coming on later. But please give us a little insight into your thoughts, Maria, please.
Well, in terms of, specifically in terms of telephone support, Marlene, I think each of the trusts are offering that type of support. There's also the Breastfeeding Network, which is a free support line that is open. And I think they've actually been very busy with calls during this COVID. I think they've had an increase in calls. But possibly it's something that when we're putting this together to be sent out later, that we maybe can include those sort of telephone numbers and links to further information about where to find support if you're in this situation.
Yeah, I think that's a very good idea, Maria, and Janet put up a lot of very helpful information earlier, and we'll make sure that all of this information is available. We'll certainly pick it up and put it up onto the DMRS separately as well to make sure that it's there as well, but it will also come with the box sets. But so at least, you know, there's almost 1,400 people who have signed up to this today. So at least that means the outreach, the opportunity to share that knowledge has already been initialized. So thank you very much. I'll have to let you go there, Maria. And thank you so much. And please keep up the wonderful work. And with what Janet was talking about earlier on, there may be opportunities for us all to work together in the future. It would be wonderful.